Now on the CTV News at 5, Ottawa and Alberta sign an agreement for a new pipeline to the West Coast. Plus, an update on the province's finances. And the puck drops in Lethbridge on Game 2 of the Prospects Challenge.
Telling your stories. CTV News Lethbridge with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. We're glad you could join us. A signing ceremony today in Calgary between Ottawa and Alberta that paves the way for a pipeline to BC. It's a major energy deal that lays out the groundwork but leaves lots of unanswered questions, and not everyone is on board. Mike Couture looks at the Memorandum of Understanding, the details, and what it means going forward.
Danielle Smith's excitement could not be contained. Alberta isn't getting a bitumen pipeline yet, but it is one step closer.
This agreement includes a clear path to the construction of an over 1 million barrel per day Indigenous co-owned bitumen pipeline to Asian markets.
If everything goes smoothly, senior government officials say construction could start in 2029. But there's one important caveat.
If there's not a private sector proponent, there won't be a pipeline.
That's just one of the conditions as laid out in the agreement, as is Indigenous co-ownership and collaboration with BC to share the benefits. There has to be a new carbon pricing agreement, and the Pathways Carbon Capture project must move forward for the pipeline to do the same.
I don't know that the Prime Minister would have agreed to a new bitumen pipeline without Pathways, and we wouldn't have agreed to Pathways without a new bitumen pipeline.
The carbon storage program is key to Canada meeting its commitment of achieving net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. The federal Conservatives are criticizing the process, saying the Prime Minister could push this ahead using existing legislation.
We even supported him, gives him the power to approve it. So we only need him to do one thing for this pipeline to happen. Get out of the way.
A pipeline would go through BC, but that province wasn't part of this deal. And the Bloc Québécois says it's a dangerous precedent.
The federal government making a deal in order to backstab a province and its jurisdiction.
Alberta has until July 1st to submit a pipeline project application to the new Major Projects Office. If all conditions are met, then the federal government will make an exemption to the oil tanker ban on the BC coast. Mike Couture, CTV News, Ottawa.
Business leaders in southern Alberta are optimistic about the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding. While a new pipeline won't have a direct impact on Lethbridge, other key agreements outlined in that MOU are showing promising change. Carson Marsouk explains.
At first glance, we are excited.
It's a sign of optimism in Alberta. While a new Memorandum of Understanding signed between Premier Danielle Smith and Prime Minister Mark Carney Thursday morning doesn't directly impact southern Alberta, business leaders say it does bring great change.
The commitment to help build out interties between BC and Saskatchewan directly impact us here in southern Alberta.
Within the MOU is a commitment by the federal government to increase intertie transfer capabilities between western provinces to build the low-carbon generation and transmission grid that supports growth in oil, agriculture, data centers, and electricity.
One of the barriers is the ability to move electrons out of our jurisdiction. We've kind of been stuck in a bit of an island here with bottlenecks that go everywhere else. This is going to widen those bottlenecks and increase bilateral flow of electricity between jurisdictions, which creates a lot of opportunities for us down here in the south.
He says the renewable energy industry has dried up in southern Alberta over recent years because of those barriers.
Getting the interties in place opens other policy options up for the government of Alberta so that we can create a viable business case for investment in southern Alberta again.
Alberta currently sends electricity to Montana and BC, with the increase allowing more power to be sent while boosting the economy in the region.
That opportunity there is where I can see some real strength in the southern region.
But not all groups are happy with the potential of a new pipeline.
It's a complete betrayal of our climate goals, of our commitment to Indigenous reconciliation, and it's putting the interests of oil profits above all else.
With agreements signed, the business community is optimistic now, but Cindy Crane says all sectors need to continue to grow.
Even though we might have heard some news today we still need to move forward with tomorrow and the day after, just to make sure that we keep going, so when those projects are ready, no matter what project would be announced, that industry and the communities are ready to take it on.
I'm hopeful that these policies that we're getting in place represent a cooling of tensions between Alberta and Ottawa, and that we can create a predictable environment in which businesses can innovate and invest.
Carson Marsouk, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Canada's steel and lumber industries are getting a boost as they continue to struggle under U.S. tariffs.
We must protect our workers and our industries who are most exposed to U.S. tariffs.
Prime Minister Mark Carney announcing new support measures for steel, including limiting foreign steel imports and enhancing support for workers. Countries that do not have a free trade agreement with Canada will now be limited to 20% of what they sold to Canada in 2024. However, softwood lumber companies say they've been left out. Many owners say the new federal measures won't make much of a difference. Carney is urging Canada's steel and lumber sectors to look inward, saying Canada's heavy reliance on the American market has become a liability. Alberta's second quarter fiscal update shows the province holding its deficit steady. That is, despite softer oil prices and global uncertainty. The province is forecasting a $6.4 billion deficit. That's virtually unchanged from the first quarter. Resource revenue is down sharply to $15.7 billion as Alberta's oil price forecast now sits well below budget expectations at $61.50 U.S. per barrel. That is down from $68. The U.S. government says lower royalties, a slower global economy, and trade pressures are dragging on provincial revenues. That's why Finance Minister Nate Horner aims to have a balance between controlling spending while still supporting services. Danielle Savoni joins us. And Danielle, a snowfall warning is already in effect for southwestern Alberta.
Yep, parts of it, absolutely. So Lethbridge is included in this, Milk River over through the Pincher Creek area in the yellow. Now, Environment Climate Change Canada have updated how they do their warnings. So now it's really just red, orange, yellow, and then some boxes. So I'm going to explain that a little bit. Snowfall warning in place here in the full yellow. And then in this outline here, this is where we have the fog advisory. Basically, what you can look at is anywhere east of Highway 2, QE2, fog is what you're going to be dealing with. And for areas to the far south, especially from basically Milk River in through Pincher Creek, that's where we're dealing with the heaviest amount of snow because it's really concentrated in this area. We'll talk more about snowfall totals in just a moment, but a quick look at temperatures. Wind chill is an issue. It feels more like minus 14 in Lethbridge, and it feels closer to minus 18 in Medicine Hat right now. Your full forecast is just ahead.
Thanks, Danielle. And as Danielle was saying, Environment and Climate Change Canada has launched a new color-coded tiered weather alert system.
It just so happens that we are right on time for this winter storm. And so we hope that the color-coded weather alerts will allow the public to understand better their risk from this winter storm.
The new system will now also include a color level: yellow for hazardous weather, orange for severe conditions, and red for very dangerous and possibly life-threatening weather. Officials say this new warning system will help people understand the severity of the incoming weather. A train derailment north of Champion is causing detours for motorists. Fortunately, no evacuations for residents. According to Vulcan County, the train was hauling non-hazardous material when it derailed shortly after noon today. Around 20 rail cars were involved, many of them hauling grain. Champion remains accessible from Highways 23 and 529, but Highway 529 is blocked at the derailment site. Harsher measures are coming for commercial truck drivers with bad driving records in Alberta. Class 1 tractor-trailer drivers will have to provide their driving records when they move to a new job. It's an effort to have a record follow the driver instead of their company. Transportation Minister Devin Dreeshen says this move would allow companies to know who the good and bad drivers are before they get behind the wheel. This will begin in phases starting December 1st. A full rollout is slated for June 1st of next year. A farmers' advocacy group says it will be lobbying the federal government for a guaranteed annual income. The National Farmers Union is calling on Ottawa to set up a 10-year pilot project, which would see farmers receive an annual income of at least $50,000. The rate would also rise by inflation each year. The executive director of the union says a guaranteed income would help stabilize farmers' finances. Members are also calling for a cap on the profits of major grocery chains. Another closure at Fort Macleod's emergency department to tell you about. This one is just for 24 hours. The facility closed at 8 o'clock this morning and will reopen 8 a.m. Friday. The temporary closure is due to an unexpected shortage of staff. If you are experiencing a medical emergency, you're asked to call 911. EMS calls will be rerouted to Chinook Regional Hospital in Lethbridge. Emergency aid is also available in Claresholm, Cardston, or Pincher Creek. University of Lethbridge nursing students hosted a wellness fair at St. Patrick's Fine Arts School today. The fair highlighted some important ways for younger kids to stay healthy. Some of the key talking points were proper teeth brushing, the importance of sleep, and opening up about mental health struggles. It isn't just a learning opportunity for the kids, though. The nursing students are able to learn the best ways to communicate with different age groups of kids. It's part of a long-standing collaboration between the U of L and Holy Spirit School Division.
I think it's really beneficial for our students plus our elementary students. Our university students, since they're in the nursing program, they have to go out and learn to talk to all different ages.
The nursing students had spent much of the semester at the school helping educate students about healthy living. If you've always wanted to be a contestant on Amazing Race Canada, here is your chance.
All right, everyone, good luck.
Casting for season 12 of CTV's The Amazing Race Canada is currently underway. Applicants must submit a video saying why you and your partner should be chosen. Be sure to include what makes your team and relationship special. The deadline to apply is December the 15th. It is time for our first break. When we return, Danielle has the 5-day forecast. Plus, we have the details of a new study looking at the impact of major surgery on seniors. Stay with us.
Here's your Skywatch weather camera from just about an hour ago. And you can see, yes, lower visibility. We have some snow falling. The snow is nowhere near done with us yet. In fact, there's a lot on the way, especially for much of the far south. We'll talk about all of this in just a second. -5 was the daytime high so far in Calgary, -8 in Regina. That cold air has really filtered into the prairies and sticking around. It's been a couple days. Warmer air off to the east of us and warmer air off to the west of us, that's for sure. We'll get there-ish next week when we'll get above freezing. Some communities may get above freezing just before that. I'll show you the longer range in just a moment. -11 is what it feels like with the wind chill in Calgary and Claresholm. -10 is what it feels like in Pincher Creek. -15 is what it feels like in Lethbridge, and almost that -20 mark in Medicine Hat. So it's absolutely chilly, and keep in mind, it's going to get colder as we go through these next 24 to 38 hours, because by tomorrow night, the wind chills will be quite dangerous and closer to -30 in some parts. All right, we have the snow that's really concentrated in the far south, as we talked about with this system, because it's pushing in from the south. It will make its way up Highway 2 towards Calgary, but less amounts expected there compared to what we're going to get in the far south from this, because it will be consistent for the next 12 to 24 hours. All right, let me advance this so you can get an idea of the timeline here. Here's a look at 10:30 tonight. It starts to shift over to the Medicine Hat area, especially by then. This will really be heavy in the overnight hours, and then this is a look at tomorrow afternoon. By about 1:30, it should mainly be out of Lethbridge, or at least tapered off for the most part, and just some isolated flurries, but then still in the far southeast at that point, and then that will clear out later in the day on Friday of the southeast corner. All right, so how much can we expect? Well, a decent amount for sure. So as we go from now right up until late Friday, 15 centimeters is what's likely in Lethbridge in total, 20 centimeters in Pincher Creek and in Milk River. And this is why we do have the warning in place, the snowfall warning in place for these communities, because that's where we're looking at the highest amounts. Medicine Hat looking closer to 7 centimeters. Tabor, you're on the edge of it, but you'll likely still pick up about 15 centimeters. All right, -3 overnight in the East Kootenay area, 2 to 4 centimeters of snow tonight, and then a few flurries carrying into tomorrow morning, and then it should start to clear out. 1 degree is the high for tomorrow afternoon. Crow's Nest Pass, very different story. -9 overnight, feeling closer to -18 with the wind chill. It won't get any warmer tomorrow. In fact, we'll warm up a little bit in the morning, but then it will cool back down to -9 tomorrow afternoon. 10 to 15 centimeters of snow tonight, and then another couple centimeters possible tomorrow before it's all said and done. 2 centimeters tonight in Medicine Hat, and then another 4 possible for tomorrow. And again, it's not going to warm up much. We might warm up a little tomorrow morning, but then we drop drop right back down. Same thing goes for Lethbridge. Just a high of -11 is what you could expect, with a wind chill of -22 throughout the day. It will be very windy, so this is not just snow, it's also blowing snow. Tonight, 10 to 15 centimeters. So in addition to this 2 to 4 we get tomorrow, 10 to 15 possible tonight. And then it clears out and temperatures will slowly climb. We'll get above freezing by the time we get into Monday at +2.
Frightening conclusions of a new study. 1 in 6 older adults suffers new disabilities or even death within 6 months of a major procedure. Adrian Gobriel takes a deeper dive into the post-op experiences of some Canadian seniors.
The road to recovery for seniors following surgery can be fraught with challenges.
My intestine exploded and it caused major infections.
Sandra Espinosa is still struggling to find her footing 4 months after a lengthy abdominal surgery.
I even find it difficult to stand up and wash dishes. Something that's so simple, but is not simple for me anymore.
More than 2,000 Canadian seniors 65 and older were enrolled in a national study by a team of doctors across the country. Their investigation found that 1 in 6 seniors suffer new disabilities or even death within 6 months after going through a major non-cardiac surgery, increasing to 1 in 5 after 1 year.
They had a poor quality of life. They were almost 5 to 6 times more likely to have significant depression.
How concerned should we be?
70% of patients survive surgery and they're functional. That's great. We still have a proportion, that 1 in 6, that struggle. And so we now understand how often that occurs, so we can communicate that to patients. We can have this discussion that we need to have more often before surgery.
Is there more that can be done to better prepare patients ahead of their surgery?
Yes. None of us would choose to run a marathon tomorrow without preparing. But yet we get people to go through very stressful sort of psychological and physical experiences in surgery, oftentimes without much in the way of preparation.
You nearly died post-surgery.
I was very much almost a statistic. Post-surgery is a long battle.
Espinosa hopes that her story and this study begin a vital conversation across the country.
Researchers also say that both patients and healthcare providers need to reset their post-surgery expectations. The study found that it's taking the average Canadian senior 3 to 6 months to regain their full physical capacity.
Still ahead on the CTV News at 5, we have got highlights from Game 2 of the Prospects Challenge. Team CHL and the U.S. National Development Team program met for Game 2 of the Prospects Challenge in Lethbridge last night. Quinn Keenan reports.
Around through the middle, Plant Rister scores! Victor Plant with the super overtime winner!
The USNTDP's Victor Plant scored the challenge-winning goal in overtime. It's the first time the NTDP has won the CHL USA Prospects Challenge. Despite the comeback, it was a tough pill to swallow for Team CHL.
Our group was talking about it a lot last night, contemplating about what we wanted out of us today, and we're really proud of ourselves, how hard we battled back, even being down in the game, and I'm really proud of every guy in there.
After dropping Game 1 in Calgary, Team CHL forced the decisive overtime with a 4-3 win in Game 2. Team CHL had minimal time to practice as a group, but the coaching staff felt they were more cohesive in Game 2.
So it is hard structure-wise, but the U.S. was really fast. Like, they put lots of pressure on us, so they deserved it. But it is a challenge when you come together right away just to get that structure in place.
But perhaps bigger than the game was the chance to impress in front of scouts from all 32 NHL teams. Players were able to show off parts of their game they don't always have the chance to.
Yeah, I think that was pretty good. Obviously, didn't get on the score sheet a whole lot, but I think I was able to play a pretty solid game, 200-foot game.
Even with the loss, it's still a memorable event for the Team CHL players involved.
Super cool, obviously. Not too many guys get this opportunity, so very grateful for that. And the event itself was awesome. I mean, not the result we wanted, obviously, but I thought we battled hard and played well today.
Quinn Keenan, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Canadian darts standout Clint Clarkson is competing in the 2025 WDF World Darts Championship in England. Top players from around the world will be vying for the world title. For Canadian darts, Clarkson's qualification highlights the country's growing influence on the global stage. The competition is happening at Calgary's Lakeside Country Club and wraps up December 8th. Clarkson also hosts a podcast, Dart Brain, exploring psychology and strategies through sports, science, humor, and real-world experience. Still ahead on the CTV News at 5, how far some Americans are going to get away from Donald Trump's tariffs. While Donald Trump's trade war has some businesses looking to relocate south of the border, it has had the opposite effect on one American couple. When tariffs ruffled their feathers, they decided to fly north to a coastal BC town. CTV's Shannon Patterson has more.
Neil King is getting his ducks in a row as he and his wife prepare to open their new business at Tsawwassen Mills Mall.
This all came from the idea that we needed an attraction to bring people into Point Roberts after COVID.
The American couple opened the Rubber Duck Museum in the back of their Point Roberts gift shop in July 2024.
The first day it was open, we had lines going out the door. We were immediately getting calls from places like Roadside America and other small travel publications. We did, I think, CNN travel. It was really exciting.
It was going swimmingly until Donald Trump was elected.
The second he was elected and those 51st state comments started coming out, we got flooded with emails from our Canadian visitors, our tourists, our regulars, just saying, I am so sorry, I'm not coming down for the next 4 years.
Not only were fewer Canadians crossing the border to visit the Rubber Duck Museum in Point Roberts, the business was being clobbered by President Trump's ever-changing tariffs on Chinese imports.
Pretty much overnight, our entire business became unsustainable. We couldn't get anything for any price point that made sense. And we just put so much into this. You know, it was a sink or swim moment.
It actually became a no-brainer to come to Canada. Like, we love Canada. That's why we moved to Point Roberts to begin with. Canada aligns more with our values.
The new Rubber Duck Museum will open in Tsawwassen Mills next Monday.
We are going to have close to 4,000 to 5,000 different kind of ducks and various duck products such as bath bombs and soaps and, you know, little ducky cards and anything rubber duck related we are trying to bring in.
This one is from the 50s from Sunco.
There's also a collection of rare and antique rubber ducks on display that tell the story of the iconic toy.
We have some of them that we got directly from Sesame Street Workshop. We have 2 rubber ducks that have been used on screen by Ernie.
The Kings are betting it all on British Columbians embracing the first rubber duck store in Western Canada.
Our hope is that the store just brings that joy and wonder to Tsawwassen and Canada. We really want to make sure that this just keeps living on.
And if they can make a living at it too, well, that's just ducky. Shannon Patterson, CTV News, Tsawwassen.
Thank you for sharing this time with us. Now here's the early edition of the CTV National News.